Here I sit this morning incredibly confused. Yesterday afternoon, I'm reading this article in CNN that included an exciting announcement. Bud Light's back. All right! I could not believe my eyes. I guess this was great news. After nearly 3 months of resting in the woke cemetery next to the likes of the donut diva Brian Stelter as well as Donnie and his Lemons, Bud Light pushed their hands out of the grave living to fight another day. I guess this 3-step plan from Bud Light CEO Brendan Whitworth is actually working. He has promised to tour the country getting acquainted with the garbage cans that have been hosting his beer for the last 3 months. Maybe the CEO of Huge Embarrassing Failures has finally developed a strategy that is turning things around. CNN, they interviewed the top marketing executive at Bud Light. He claimed that the last 3 months have been a very humbling experience. Well, I would imagine so. I would imagine this doofus wakes up every morning thankful that he still has a job. Now, you would think, with the Bud Light collaboration with Dylan Mulvaney being the worst marketing disaster in the history of American business, you would think the first person to lose their job over this would be the top marketing executive. But as we have seen the last few months, Bud Light, they're not exactly known for making rational decisions. When I was reading that article from CNN yesterday afternoon, my first thought was, this can't be real. For starters, I'm skeptical of any journalism that comes out of CNN. This is the same network that claimed earlier this year they were dunking on their competition in the ratings. Of course, these dunks were similar to the dunks that we see in the WNBA. They don't exist. The other reason I was not biting into the shit sandwich that Bud Light's back, we're going on 10, maybe 11 weeks now with drastic declines in sales. For decades, Anheuser-Busch has marketed themselves as the king of beers. Last month, Modelo informed Bud Light that you just ain't worthy. You might as well rebrand as the Prince of New Jersey because that is the only region where sales have declined the least, and they're still down 14 to 19%. For the first time in decades, Bud Light was dethroned as the number 1 beer in America during the month of May. But that's okay. That's okay. Because according to CNN and Bud Light executives, Bud Light is back, right? Right? Before I disprove this false notion, let me take a second to get to the sponsor for today's video, my friends over at Ground News. I'm sure you guys are more than well aware of the abundance of propaganda throughout the mainstream media. It has become incredibly difficult to know which sources you can trust. I do this every day, and there are times where I'm even confused as to which way some media outlets are leaning and whether the information I'm reading is factual. Over the last few weeks, we have discussed the Los Angeles Dodgers and the controversy surrounding their Pride Night. Bill Plaschke wrote an article for the Los Angeles Times where one of the primary narratives, one of the primary points was one Catholic priest, just one Catholic priest, who supported the Dodgers honoring the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. They shape this narrative that all Catholics should be supportive since a single Catholic leader is supported. Obviously, there are many Catholic leaders who were against this, but you would never know that if the LA Times was your only source. Luckily, my friends at Ground News, they have designed a system that compiles all media outlets covering major stories all in the same spot. They not only grade media outlets based on their left or right bias, they also grade them on their ability to be factual. PBS, for example. Obviously, PBS leans towards the left with a tendency to struggle when it comes to delivering fact-based reporting. They also have a feature they call the blind spot. It's designed to show stories that are being over or underreported from either side. The bottom line here, Ground News helps you make informed decisions, and they also help you understand and appreciate different viewpoints. Ground News, they have become my go-to source for locating media articles that I present to you guys every day. Let them offer the same benefit to you. 100% free to sign up, and you can save 30% off your Vantage level subscription today by going to ground.news/BTL. All right, not even 4 hours after this propaganda was published by CNN, the New York Post released a report outlining the latest sales figures for Bud Light. Unlike previous reports, this report was actually somewhat surprising. The decline itself wasn't surprising. Over the last 3 months, we've become accustomed to Bud Light battling Bomani Jones and CNN for the crown of huge embarrassing failure. But it was the amount of the decline that was shocking. Typically with these boycotts, they have a tendency to lose steam as time goes on. They lose steam for a variety of reasons. People simply forget, the outrage and anger subside, the news cycle is dominated by another story, or people simply forgive and return to their old habits. But that ain't happening here. People aren't forgetting. Even with Bob Dylan Mulvaney being hidden in the woke dungeon for the past 3 months, I mean, seriously, has anyone seen Bobby D lately? Over the last 12 to 18 months, we couldn't go a full week without Bobby D teaching women how to apply their makeup, or modeling nail polish for Ulta Beauty, making appearances on daytime television where dipshit celebrities like Drew Barrymore worship at the feet of their living God. Over the last 10 or 11 weeks, Dylan Mulvaney has literally ghosted. The only appearance I have seen from Dylan Mulvaney was some interview by an unknown YouTuber with no following, and the video attracted like less than 4,000 views in 2 months. According to the New York Post, sales of Bud Light for the week ending June 10th declined by nearly 27%. Well, KC, what is the big deal? Sales have been declining by this amount for the last 3 months. Actually, this represents the biggest drop in sales since Bud Light entered into holy matrimony with Dylan Mulvaney on April 1st. Now, I can't tell you this with complete certainty, but I would imagine this decline of almost 27%, I would imagine it's the biggest drop in the history of Anheuser-Busch. And it's not only sales of Bud Light that are declining. The boycott has spilled over into all major brands of Anheuser-Busch. I know there's this belief throughout woke United Methodists that normal people are stupid, normal people have short attention spans. There's this belief that major corporations can indoctrinate children, major corporations can convince Dieter to donate his Peter to a woman in need of becoming a man. The shit fucks, they believe they can do all of this and get away with it. There will be no repercussions for their actions. And for the longest time, that was true, that was the case. Problem is, time has run out. Normal people have done their research. They have done their own homework. They have figured out other beers that were manufactured and produced by Anheuser-Busch. My girlfriend likes to drink Michelob Ultra. Like most women, she prefers Mich Ultra because it's less calories. She didn't know it was produced by Anheuser-Busch. To be honest, neither did I. But once she found out that Mich Ultra was owned by Anheuser-Busch, she swapped over to Coors Light. Looking at these latest figures, she ain't the only one. Sales of Michelob Ultra down 2.4% for the week ending June 10th. Sales of Budweiser, the preferred beer of alcoholics who smoke Marlboro Reds, they were down 10%. Now, that is an additional 3% decline from the week before. Sales of Natural Light, the preferred beer of horny students at Woke U who spend lonely Saturday nights finding unique ways to utilize their emotional support shovel. Sales of Natural Light down 2.3% compared to a 1% decline the previous week. Let me just put this in layman's terms. Contrary to what CNN would have you believe, this boycott of Bud Light is not going away. According to Jon Taffer, not only is this boycott not going away, it's here to stay indefinitely. Earlier this week, Jon Taffer was on Fox Business with Stuart Varney, the less popular cousin of Barney. KC, who is Jon Taffer? Jon Taffer has been involved in the bar and nightclub industry for the last 50 years. Unlike the pretend journalist at CNN, Jon Taffer, he actually knows what he's talking about. When I'm looking for insight on the plumbing business, I don't consult with CNN. I consult with an expert in plumbing, someone like Leah Thomas, who successfully removed their own plumbing. When I'm looking for expert analysis on the NFL, I look to someone like Tony Dungy, not some pretend expert like Mina Kimes, who was only hired by ESPN because of her ability to check multiple woke boxes. When I'm looking for insight on the business of beer, I am willing to take the word of Jon Taffer. With over 50 years of experience, I think he knows what he's talking about. Johnny T, he was a guest on Barney and Friends on Fox Business. He was asked by Stu Barney if he was surprised that this boycott of Bud Light has lasted as long as it has. Listen to his response for yourself.
Actually, not Stuart. You know, beer brands and people's connection to their beer is an identifier of your personality. It's a personal thing, almost emotional. People connect with these brands very heavily.
Yep.
In their view, the brand slapped them in the face. It's almost like a spouse disappointing you in some way. It's emotional. Stores have reduced shelf space for the brand, Stuart. Distributors haven't reduced warehouse space. They've reduced order numbers. This is not disappearing anytime soon. All of the distribution mechanisms around Bud Light have all been reduced to adjust to current levels.
Jon,
it's forever.
Look, I'm not even close to being an expert in the beer business. Hell, I don't even like to drink beer. But I have echoed this same sentiment here on the channel for the last 3 months. Habits can be very emotional. We become emotionally attached to TV shows. We become emotionally attached to our sports teams. We become emotionally attached to our favorite bars. It's the same thing with beer. You develop an emotional attachment to your beer of choice. When a brand like Bud Light collaborates with someone like Dylan Mulvaney, people take that personally. Like Jon Taffer said, it's a slap in the face. Most normal people are willing to overlook simple mistakes, but it's hard to forgive 3 months of disrespect. That's what it's been for the last 3 months with Bud Light, disrespect. They disrespected their consumers by hiring Dylan Mulvaney in the first place. They disrespected their consumers by refusing to apologize. And they continued to disrespect normal people by pretending all of this is going to be forgotten. You know, corporate America used to be vilified because of their corporate greed. Remember those days when corporations were vilified for making too much money? I never understood it personally because the only purpose of a business is to make money. Except, of course, for the WNBA, where their only purpose is offering woke welfare to the bearded beauties who couldn't get a job at Cracker Barrel. Today, it seems profit is no longer the primary goal of major corporations. They have put this twisted agenda ahead of making money, which, that's fine. It's their right to do business this way, but if you do, you won't be doing business for much longer. I agree with Jon Taffer. This boycott of Bud Light is not going away. Like I said before, it's become a status symbol, but what do you think? Is this boycott of Bud Light indefinite or will it eventually subside? You let me know. Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys later.